Aloha and good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on This Is Now First. Today, never-before-seen video has been released showing Nancy Pelosi responding to the January 6th insurrection as she's evacuated from the Capitol.
Now, this comes just hours after former President Donald Trump was indicted on revised charges relating to allegations that he tried to overturn the 2020 election. Skylar Henry has the latest developments.
On social media, former President Donald Trump claimed election interference after special counsel Jack Smith filed a revised indictment against him Tuesday, with less than 10 weeks before Election Day. The slimmed-down indictment still charges that Trump engaged in a conspiracy to hold on to power and to overturn the results of the 2020 election. But it is pared down to comply with the Supreme Court's July ruling that presidents have broad immunity for official acts.
Some of the evidence, like some of the communications between the president and the Department of Justice, that would have been marshaled in support or was marshaled in support in the initial indictment, is no longer on the table.
Trump has long claimed he did nothing wrong.
This is a persecution of a political opponent.
A source close to Trump's legal team tells CBS News, quote, "This was not a surprise. It doesn't change our position that we believe Smith's case is flawed." The source went on to say that Trump's lawyers will soon ask for an extension to brief the case. A day after the indictment comes never-before-released documentary footage from January 6th and the days after.
We're calling the National Guard now. Should have been here to start out.
Some was recorded as then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was being evacuated from the Capitol. The footage was turned over to Congress by HBO and obtained by CBS News. It also includes Pelosi calling Trump a domestic enemy in the White House during a meeting with her staff. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
The FBI is providing more details about their investigation into the assassination attempt on former President Trump. Investigators shared evidence photos Wednesday that showed the shooter's firearm, as well as his backpack and the improvised explosive devices found in his car after the shooting. Investigators say the shooter searched for information on both the Republican and Democratic national conventions before ultimately opening fire on the former president's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. FBI officials say there is no evidence that any co-conspirators worked with the shooter, and they do not believe he was directed by a foreign entity to conduct the attack. Investigators still have not settled on a motive for the shooting, but they did say that the rally appears to have been a target of opportunity. Vice President Kamala Harris is hitting the campaign trail for the first time since accepting her party's presidential nomination at last week's Democratic National Convention. Now, this comes as the Trump-Vance team is trying to say they're better prepared to handle the economy than Harris is. Natalie Brand has more details from Washington.
Vice President Kamala Harris boarded a bus in Savannah to kick off a tour of southern Georgia. Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, are spending Wednesday and Thursday in the key battleground. It's a state Biden won in 2020 by less than 12,000 votes. New CBS News polling shows Harris and former President Donald Trump tied in the Peach State.
How we doing?
Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, is campaigning in another critical battleground, Pennsylvania, where the candidates are also neck and neck. The Trump campaign is focused this week on blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, all places that Biden narrowly won last election after Trump had flipped them in 2016. Senator Vance telling voters the border is the key to a stronger U.S. economy.
We're going to stop 25 million illegal aliens coming into this country, competing for wages against American workers.
Earlier Wednesday, Governor Walz worked to shore up labor support, talking to firefighters at a union convention in Boston. He said for him, it's personal, and talked about St. Paul Fire Captain Chris Parsons, who died in the line of duty.
It's kind of heartbreak that no family and no community should have to endure, because every hero deserves to come home at the end of every shift.
Thursday, Walz and Harris agreed to a sit-down interview with CNN, her first since declaring her bid for president. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Washington.
Back here at home, a Hilo man has been arrested and charged with a host of drug and traffic offenses. Hawaii police were responding to an active burglary call at a home in Puna on Sunday. That's when an officer walked up to Gilbert Mata III's pickup truck. We're told the 33-year-old then sped toward the officers and attempted to flee. Mata eventually came to a stop and stepped out of the vehicle, along with a woman who was identified as Carolyn Sampson. She was arrested but later released pending the investigation. HPD then conducted a search warrant where they found methamphetamine. Mata's bail has been set at $240,000. A Schofield soldier has now been charged in connection to the disappearance of his pregnant wife. 19-year-old Misha Johnson went missing on July 31st and is feared dead. Her husband, Private First Class Dwayne Arthur Johnson II, is charged with providing false official statements, obstruction of justice, and the production and distribution of child pornography. Johnson remains in pretrial confinement pending a preliminary hearing. Elsewhere on Oahu, a grand jury indicted Jonathan Ten for attempted murder and firearms offenses. The 19-year-old is accused of shooting a 16-year-old boy on a city bus in Kalihi earlier this month. Ten had been out on bail pending trial in a separate case where he was charged with the kidnapping and sex assault of a minor. He's now being held without bail.
A Maui mother was sentenced to 10 years in prison on Tuesday for intentionally setting a brush fire in Pu'unene. A jury found 36-year-old Crystal Kaneakua guilty of arson in June. Prosecutors say she ignited the fire in 2022 to distract police who were searching for her boyfriend.
I take full accountability for me being here. I'm sorry for the hurt I did cause within the community. I do miss my family. I do miss my kids. They miss me as well. And I'm sorry.
Her family disagrees with the sentence and says the court is making an example out of her because of the Lahaina disaster. On Oahu, the family of a man killed in an ambulance fire 2 years ago has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Honolulu EMS. 91-year-old Fred Kaneshiro was killed when his oxygen tank exploded in the back of the ambulance, transporting him to Adventist Health Castle in August of 2022. The suit claims Honolulu EMS failed to provide a safe environment. Honolulu EMS has declined to comment on the pending litigation. An abandoned building once operated by a homeless outreach program in Wahiawa has become a magnet for homelessness and crime. And as Eddie Dowd reports, the former nonprofit also owes tens of thousands of dollars.
Ever since the nonprofit achieved zero closed its doors nearly 9 months ago, residents say it's become a place of squatters and suspicious activity. Mountains of personal belongings, shopping carts, and trash bags have littered the sidewalk along Mango Street for months.
Worse than a hurricane passing through. It was really bad. Used female hygiene products to even human feces.
Raquel Runnels volunteers with Pastor Kaleo Patterson's outreach group to regularly clean the area with HPD. So if the community stopped doing cleanups, what do you expect will happen to this location?
Oh, probably be trashed again.
In December, the nonprofit shuttered not only operations of the building, but also their group entirely, saying in a statement, quote, "Despite our best efforts, we were unable to successfully navigate the challenging landscape and financial challenges that nonprofits face in the work that we do," end quote. Almost a year later, the area's state representative, Amy Peruso, says plans for the property are still unclear.
There's a lot of confusion and not a lot of information about what's happening with that building.
Meantime, H&N has learned the nonprofit owes about $70,000 to the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, who fronted money to the organization. CNHA says they're still trying to settle their losses, but communication with the nonprofit has been sporadic.
Either the state can get full site control, and maybe we can have different state offices acquired and operate within that building, or there's also some other nonprofits in the area that would like to see if they might be able to acquire the property.
State Senator Donovan Dela Cruz says if the state did acquire the building, Achieve Zero would likely first need to take care of debt it also owes to the state. Meanwhile, outreach workers with the city's CORE program are providing resources they hope will help get individuals into shelter. H&N has reached out to Achieve Zero, but our emails bounced back as undeliverable, and their phone line is out of service. Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
There you go. Good.
Honolulu's mayor signed a bill into law increasing incentives for affordable housing construction. The bill raises the post-construction grant amounts for privately financed rental housing projects, $40 per square foot for units under 300 square feet, or $12,000 for units that are 300 square feet or larger. 2 skate parks in central Oahu are getting updated and expanded. City leaders held the first of 3 public meetings discussing how to improve the skateboarding area at Wahiawa District Park. Meanwhile, $20,000 worth of new lights will be installed at Mililani District Park in September. Skateboarders and supporters for these projects say it's not just about more space for tricks. Bigger skate parks will help keep kids out of trouble.
If there's 5 people, then it's crowded, because it's that small. I see some kids like chicken fighting, honestly, and I feel like there's kids that get caught that might not get into the organized sports.
Another meeting to discuss the timeline for the upgrades at Wahiawa District Park is slated for October. More potential severe weather is approaching the state. Meteorologist Drew Davis has the latest on tropical storms Gilma and Hector and how they could impact the Big Island.
Let's talk about Tropical Storm Gilma, especially after a long weekend dealing with Hurricane Hone just south of the Big Island. Last week, Tropical Storm Gilma was Major Hurricane Gilma, peaking at Category 3 strength. The system looked menacing on satellite, but has started to weaken as it moved into the Central Pacific. Gilma is currently a tropical storm, and the latest track from the National Hurricane Center forecasts for the storm to weaken to a tropical depression on Thursday morning, and then to a remnant low-pressure system by Thursday evening. The system is moving into an area of strong upper-level winds, which will continue to tear the storm apart. The forecast calls for this system to track further northward, bringing rainfall to Hilo, the Hamakua coast, and the northern parts of the Big Island. Windward regions of the rest of the island chain could see rainfall as well. Again, this system is expected to be much weaker than Hurricane Hone, but impacts are still possible. With Big Island soil already saturated from Hone, runoff and some minor flooding could occur, especially in flood-prone regions. Rain seems to be the main concern. It won't be as windy as Hurricane Hone. Even further east, Tropical Storm Hector is expected to dissipate right as it moves into the Central Pacific. We'll continue to monitor these storms going forward. Make sure to download the H&N First Alert Weather app to get the official forecast at any time.
More on your forecast later with Guy Hagi, but first, it is Wednesday. That means it's time for our crime roundup here with Honolulu Crimestoppers, Sergeant Chris Kim, and you have an update to a previous case we talked about.
Yeah, so previously we did a news release regarding this attempted murder that happened on Friday, August 9, 2024. These were the ones where the 2 individuals were on a moped and they shot at the juvenile that was exiting the bus on North School Street. Suspect number 1 has since been identified and placed under arrest. Now we're asking for the community and helping us to identify suspect number 2. Investigators have been diligently working on this case and was able to get surveillance video of suspect number 2 shortly after the incident. This is his picture right here. So we're asking the public, if you know who this male is, the male on the right with the black backpack and the blue hat, please contact the Crimestoppers or call 911 immediately as soon as you see him.
All right, and you also have other cases to highlight today.
Yeah, the first case I want to talk about is a theft in the second degree that happened over at the Pearl Ridge on Monday, July 22nd, 2024, about 4:30 p.m. This male entered a retail establishment at the Pearl Ridge Center, loaded up on a bunch of these clothing items and then exited the store without making payment. When loss prevention officers confronted him, he then dropped all the items and then fled. He's been described as an unknown male in his 40s, approximately 6 feet to 6 feet 2 inches tall, wearing a white shirt and black pants. The second case I want to highlight is a burglary in the first degree that happened in the area on Wednesday, July 24, 2024, at about 4:17 a.m. These three individuals basically broke into a vehicle. Well, actually, the car was left unlocked outside of the complainant's home. They then entered the vehicle and used the garage clicker, opened up the garage, and then took numerous items from within the garage. The video isn't the greatest, but we're using this as a learning tool to always remind people to please lock and secure your vehicles, but also be very mindful about these garage clickers not leaving them visible within your vehicle. And our third case is a violation of privacy in the second degree that happened at a hotel in the Waikiki area. On Monday, July 29, 2024, about 3:10 p.m., a visitor was using the restroom at a Waikiki hotel when he noticed that someone was sticking a cell phone underneath the toilet stalls and was attempting to film the complainant. The complainant then confronted the male, but this male depicted here then fled. He's being described as an unknown African-American male, possibly goes by the name of Sid, in his 30s, approximately 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing 220 pounds. All three cases we talked about today can be seen over at the www.honolupd.org website, bottom left-hand corner under wanted persons, as well as all the other cases that we need the help of the community helping us solve.
All right, Chris. And one more time, we want to show you that new photo of that second suspect that we just got a short time ago. If you recognize the second suspect in the blue hat, go ahead and call Crimestoppers. Their number is 955-8300. We'll also post a full recap of these on our website, excuse me, hawaiinewsnow.com.
All right, we want to take you live now outside over downtown Honolulu, looking out toward Diamond Head. We got light clouds, but some severe weather building in the Central Pacific. Guy's going to have more on your forecast after a quick break.
How's it on this Wednesday? We're still tracking 3 cyclones. Hone, of course, not a player in our weather anymore. It's moving away after swamping us over the weekend. And then we've got the Hector way out in the East Pacific. It's the strongest of the storms, but it's getting weaker. It will not be a player in our weather. Although we are watching Gilma as it falls apart. The leftover moisture expected into the state maybe sometime later today. In fact, already we're seeing some moisture ahead of the storm. And the storm itself, what's left of it, expected to bring more showers tomorrow. Friday is going to be especially wet, although we're not thinking about severe weather, so that's good. Although very wet this morning for the windward sides of Oahu and Maui County. The showers are on the move, so flooding chances are pretty minimal. So it is going to be a little bit of a cloudy and wet start today, especially for windward areas of Oahu and Maui County. We'll see a fair bit of drier conditions by lunchtime for the leeward sides, mainly. Windward sides will still see those passing showers. And as far as the surf, heads up, box jellyfish swimming in today for the next couple of days for South Shores. And we are expecting maybe a little bit of activity from Gilma coming into the east sides. And then heads up, right? We're expecting wet weather from Gilma, especially on Friday. Some of the showers could linger through Saturday. Also coming in with Gilma, lighter winds on Friday and Saturday. So Friday and Saturday, at least the start of the weekend, going to be a little sticky. More normal, drier trading weather coming back on Monday.
A popular weight loss drug is getting a big price cut. Eli Lilly says it's now selling 1-dose vials of Zepbound, which is a 4-week supply, for roughly half the usual monthly list price. The lowest dose will go for about $400 a month. The next dose is $550 a month.
This is a new move by pharmaceutical companies to sell prescription medication directly to consumers. Now, you still do need a prescription from a clinician, doctor, or other kind of clinician, for an FDA-approved indication in order to fill a prescription. But it is a new move to directly market, to directly sell to consumers.
Dr. Gounder says the lower-cost drugs should be available to consumers immediately.
Well, it is the final days of August and summer isn't yet ready to let up. This week brought brutal heat to the Midwest and East, and there are concerns in some parts of the country about a mosquito-borne illness. Karen Kefa is in Washington with what you need to know.
In and around the nation's capital, for example, schools taking extra precautions like curbing outdoor and after-school activities as the temperature climbs toward 100 degrees. It is a reminder that even as the calendar winds down on summer, there are still many reasons to stay on guard to stay safe. Tens of millions of people in the U.S. under heat alerts Wednesday with the potential for more record-breaking temperatures in the east. Jamie Madrigano of the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health says a late summer heat wave can be just as dangerous as June or July.
This heat can have an impact on many physiological systems in the body. So we see cardiovascular disease go up, and endocrine system is impacted. We see renal conditions exacerbated, respiratory conditions exacerbated during the heat.
Another concern as the calendar moves towards September, mosquito-borne illnesses. West Nile virus got off to a fast start this summer, and now in New England, some public health officials are warning of a high risk of eastern equine encephalitis, a rare virus with a fatality rate between 33 and 70%. At least one death has been reported in New Hampshire. Dr. Priya Sampath Kumar, professor at the Mayo Clinic College of Medicine and an infectious disease specialist, says the best way to avoid infections is to avoid bites.
Wearing lighter colored clothing seems to deter mosquitoes from biting. Things like that can also help. And then looking around in your yard, making sure that there's no standing water where mosquitoes can breed.
Dr. Sampath Kumar also says a warmer climate means more bugs, and bugs and diseases that weren't present in a certain area may start to make themselves felt. And according to NOAA's Climate Prediction Center, heat could stick around in certain parts of the country into the traditional fall months. Their forecasts see unusual warmth in September for the central and southern Rockies, the South, and the East Coast. In Washington, I'm Karen Kefa.
And in today's good news now, 3 10-year-old best friends got together recently and decided to set up a lemonade stand. It wasn't for profit, it was for charity. And when word spread about what the girls were doing, their Rhode Island community showed up in a big way. Sam Reed has the story.
On a hot summer day on Hoyt Street in Warwick, these 10-year-old 3 best friends are on an entrepreneurial adventure to sell refreshing lemonade to customers coming by.
$1 for a yellow lemonade, then 50 cents for a pretzel rod. So somebody would do the money, somebody would pour the lemonade, and somebody would take the order.
From 11 until 3, people were popping up from all over.
I saw people happy, so it just made me happy.
Especially after hearing the heartwarming reason they're out here.
We did it for the Izzy Fund. They would sometimes say, I don't want any lemonade, I just wanted to donate to you guys.
The Izzy Foundation is a nonprofit that helps families of children with cancer or other life-altering medical conditions.
It paid for my cousin's stay at the hospital. I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and it was like on the same floor as the Izzy Foundation.
Braylon Battis, Ava Williams, and Sophia Harrison say their moms helped to promote their efforts on social media, but never in a million years did they think they'd get the response they did.
I'm grateful for them.
Nearly $1,300 will be donated to help other kids in need. The stand and the girls behind it hope their gesture will make moments extra sweet for those on the receiving end.
It made me happy, but it was also gave us motivation to keep going. Fresh lemonade, freshly squeezed, made for the Izzy Foundation.
Aw, good job to those girls.
Yeah.
Making a difference in their community.
So cute. All right, we have one last story we want to tell you about. A goldfish scooping competition took place in Japan's Nara Prefecture. Now, the city of Yamato Koriyama is one of the nation's top goldfish producing regions, and the contest was created to advertise their fish. Now, this year marks the 29th year of competition. Around 1,700 participants from around the country came to catch as many goldfish as they could with a thin paper scoop in an allotted amount of time. Now, the competition is split into 3 categories, one for elementary and middle schoolers, one for older age groups, and there is one for teens.
So cute. Now, that's actually pretty hard because those little scoopers, those are so fragile. And it reminds me of the days of Bon Dance where fighting fish used to be prizes. Right. So cool. I love it there. I would like to try one of that. I probably catch like
harder than you think.
And they're swimming. They're just I'd probably be able to catch maybe one at most. Let's end today with a live look out over Hilo Bay. A beautiful day there. Thanks for watching, everyone.